spying on my neighbors. These are my next door neighbors. I have neighbors on the other side as well. Most of you probably remember that in January, when we came back to Cambodia, the first thing we had to do was move because of skyrocketing rent because of the Chinese moving into the neighborhood. And so we all had to move. We had to move our family, and we also had to move Lina's Hope and also the kids who live with us at night times because they're in crisis care because their parents abandoned them or abused them. So all of this, we had to move to 2 buildings in town. We had lived out in the countryside. Now we're living in town. And so it's a different scenario for us, and it's not as peaceful as it was. But there are good things about it too. There are positives because while Lina's Hope, our school for disabled kids and young adults, is our main ministry and consumes most of our time, it's not our only ministry. Our other ministry is mentoring pastors out in the countryside, and also in addition to that, our ministry is getting to know our neighborhood, being a presence of Christ in our community, and sharing the gospel with people, with our neighbors, as God opens the door of their hearts. And so getting to know these particular neighbors was a challenge because when we moved our family and the kids who were in crisis care to this new house where we're living now, our next door neighbors were not happy for us to move in because they saw we had many disabled children, and they don't understand disabled children. They think that disabled children are cursed, and they tend to be mean to disabled children. So these particular neighbors that I was just spying on is a family of about 15 kids. Some are biological kids and some are orphans, and I don't understand the situation yet, but they have a lot of kids, and their income comes from recycling. So they go around the neighborhood getting recyclable bottles and paper and such and collecting trash, and that's how they get their income. My neighbors on the other side live in a small wooden house, and they are nice to us, but to each other they're not nice. They're always yelling at each other, screaming at each other all day, all night. We don't really know them yet, but we feel like we know them because we hear everything they argue about, everything they say. So it's a challenge. But our neighbors on this side were especially challenging because with all the kids over there, seeing our disabled kids, the kids next door were mean to our disabled kids. They would come to our gate, call our kids names, try to hit our kids. In fact, one day my son Sambo was driving the moto. Sambo is 16 and he just learned to drive my husband's 3-wheel moto. And he was driving the moto to come home. And one of the kids from here, one of the boys, older boys, he ran out and hit Sambo's leg with something sharp and made it bleed. And Sambo was just minding his own business. And so it was a challenge moving into this neighborhood. And I had a talk with my kids, especially Sambo, Sarah, and Sapana, about what do we do about this? These kids are being mean to us. They're even hurting us. What do we do? And Sambo first thought, oh, we need to hit them back, or we need Dad to go and yell at them. And then, but Sarah and Sapana were thinking more. And I said, well, what would Jesus do? What does Jesus tell us to do if people are mean to us? And Sapana can't talk, but she understands everything. And she raised her hand up like this, like, I know. And I said, okay, Sapana, so what should we do? And she indicated by gesturing what we should do, that we need to love them and be kind to them back, which is a new thought for her because she's generally not a very love back kind of person. She's more of a fight back kind of person. But she's been learning a lot about God and his love lately. So we talked about that. What does Jesus say to do? If people are mean to us, we need to love them. And we need to tell them about Jesus and not hurt them back. And we also got a chance to explain to my 3 disabled adopted kids that the reason we live in Cambodia, the reason we came back here to Cambodia, is to tell people about Jesus. And that our neighbors here who are being mean, they're mean because they don't know Jesus. And it's our job to tell them about Jesus. That's why we're here. So we began to pray. I prayed with them. So asking God, what can we do to show love to these neighbors? God, please show us a way to show your love to these neighbors in a very tangible way that's helpful. And so God did show us. And it came in the form of something that you guys probably know. You probably recognize this. Samaritan's Purse gift boxes. Churches all over America make up these boxes every Christmas with items from the store, and they stuff a shoebox full, and they gather all the boxes together, then they ship them out to poor countries every Christmas. Well, once in a while, like every other year, our school for disabled children, Lina's Hope, we receive the gift boxes. But ours don't come from America. Ours come from Australia, churches in Australia. And the funny thing is, ours don't come at Christmas. Ours come closer to Easter, March, April, May. So this was perfect timing. We got our boxes, and we got a lot of extra boxes. We got about 70 extra boxes other than what we needed for our kids at Lina's Hope and the kids of our staff at Lina's Hope. So this was a perfect opportunity for us to use this as a way to get to know our neighbors, to open their eyes to our family and our school and what we do, who we are, and to share the gospel. So what we did was we had Christmas in April. And we went around the neighborhood, invited our neighbors here, our neighbors over there, our neighbors all over the place, about 70 kids. We invited them to come and join us here at our house. We had all our Lina's Hope kids and staff come. We had singing Christmas songs. We had the Christmas story. He had shared the gospel, starting with creation and who God is, who demons are, why we don't worship demons, because Cambodians do worship demons, and they need to know that there's only one God who we worship. And then moving on to Jesus coming and dying for us on the cross and rising again. And we had a big meal together. We had curry and rice and bread and fruit and seafood and barbecue. So we had all this food for the kids in the neighborhood and their parents, and it was a great way for us to get to know them. We introduced all of our Lina's Hope kids to them and explained that our kids, each kid has a specific disability, but each kid also has a lot of ability. So we explained what each kid can do really well. And we also explained to them, please don't be mean to our kids, because we believe that Jesus made all people and loves all people, and that we all have some things we're good at and some things we're not. And Jesus wants us to love all people, no matter what they can or cannot do. So it was a great way to get to know the neighbors. And now we no longer have any problems with the neighbors being mean to our kids. And in fact, this week we're going to go invite our neighbors to come to a Bible study here at our house. And a pastor who's a very good friend of ours is going to be teaching them, and starting with who God is and helping them to understand who the true God is. Generally, we don't just share the gospel while passing out a gift, because we share the gospel, but we don't ask them for a decision to follow Christ, because first of all, they've never heard of God before. They don't have a true understanding. Second of all, they may feel like in order to get the gift, they have to say a prayer, they have to say that they believe in Jesus, and in which case it wouldn't be true belief, and it would just be, oh yeah, Jesus is another God that I have to worship in addition to all the other gods that I worship. So we share the gospel with them, and we will share the gospel with them more, but slowly, gently, and wait for the Holy Spirit to open up their hearts before we give them that opportunity to put their faith in Him. We gotta wait on the Holy Spirit for that. So yeah, that's what we have decided to do in our neighborhood. So let me encourage you. What do you need to do in your neighborhood? Who are your neighbors? Are your neighbors your enemies? Sometimes neighbors are enemies. Who are the people next to you, living next door to you in the same apartment, the same neighborhood? Who are the people at your school? Who are the people at your job who drive you crazy, who make fun of you, who persecute you, who just drive you up the wall for one reason or another? Those are your neighbors. people at work, people at school, people that you meet on a daily basis, people next door to you that you haven't met because you live in America where people tend not to go next door and meet their neighbors. Let me encourage you to go next door and meet your neighbors. God put them within a proximity of you in your neighborhood for a reason. And he put the people at your work, in your school, in your church, in your neighborhood there for a reason, for you to be a light to them. Now, maybe you don't have Samaritan's Purse boxes like we did this time, but there are other ways. Invite them over for a meal. Take a meal over to them. Just go talk. Ask God to show you a way, because God knows their heart better than you do, and he knows what they need, and he knows how you can reach out to them. You know, this is not a good idea. This is a command. Jesus said the two most important things, only things you really need to follow in life, and everything else is covered. There's only two things. One, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. Two, love your neighbor as yourself. And as the man asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? And Jesus showed us your neighbor just might very well be your enemy. Jesus also gave us another command, and he said, love your enemies. Persecute those, not persecute. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, and give to them and love them with Jesus' love. You can't do it by yourself. You need to ask Jesus how to do it, and ask Jesus to do it through you, because our human selves do not have the capacity to do it, but through Jesus Christ we do. So let me just encourage you to think of that one person, at least one. Think of just one person who God is asking you to reach out to. It might be the most annoying person, but God has put you in the presence of that person for a reason. So bless you. Thank you for supporting us and praying for us. Keep praying. We're going through a lot of difficulties lately with changes in staff and funds and a lot of different things. We need your prayer, and keep pray for the kids in our neighborhood as we begin to reach out to them with the love and gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you. Bye.